Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, November 26th. I almost didn't think I was gonna. It's a miracle I'm on time today. Had a lovely visit from a client in the shop. Indy, hello, good afternoon. Happy Turkey Day Eve. Russell, Juicy, Gary, the gang all over on the YouTube side. Um, Had a friend drive up and visit the shop and do some repairs. Happy Wednesday, Gabriel, and do some good old fashioned horse trading. And then we went to lunch. I tried a new restaurant for me anyway. Just a half a mile down the street, and fantastic. Really a really great a great little place, reasonably priced. I'm a big fan of Benedict's, and they had 4 or 5 different eggs Benedict options on the menu, so I got to try those. So that was great. I mean, everything looked great. We walked in and they had their special today was lasagna. They had cheeseburger soup or something crazy like that that looked great. So definitely a good place to go back in the future. Today is the last day of the week. Obviously, tomorrow we are off eating turkey and doing mashed potato wars and all that stuff. Russell. Hans, Jeff, nice. Good afternoon. So nothing tomorrow. Friday we will do podcast at the normal time, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. And go from there. So we've got a couple of things to do today. We got some testing to do, and then I brought in some cool new pens, including one especially for Hans now that he's here, and we'll kind of dig through those, and a couple more pens from the vault, as they say, since I had this newfound passion for Conklin Crescents. I don't know why, but it just finally clicked one day that I need to have them with a turkey leg in one hand. Yes. So anyway, and this is the last day you'll see me with a mustache, unless you see me on the podcast. So the mustache is coming off next week. So, but I look a little scraggled because I was just had my hat on. Anyway, all right. Let's get cooking today. So I did a few repairs this morning. To reorganize my bench a little bit. But we've got a 51, and I want to test this combo here. And then we've got some other pens to assemble. I've got that desk pen I want to start working on. Because if I do that, I get this desk space off my desk. Oh, I guess it works. I wasn't hearing. I wasn't hearing it make noise. But clearly it works. It was rather exciting. Well, that's a nice nib. I don't think anything else is necessary. That writes really nice. I changed out my when my friend was here, I changed out my water and my ultrasonic, but I forgot that I had not emptied out the overflow bucket. Thankfully, the bucket is in a bucket, which is now halfway full. And then I promptly dirtied up my water right away. So I gotta make sure to empty that out before I do that again. And if I do that again, it'll end up on the carpet. Is there any left after you fill your cup? Oh, okay. It's like I'm having coffee. Creamer's on the floor. Well, this is a nice writing pen. It writes now, so that's. Let's see. That's,
Hate the mustache.
only a couple more days. What's that? I think so. Yeah. Okay. Great. Right. Okay. Hard starts, even when capped. It writes great now. Nice, nice fine nib. Fine medium. Okay. Clean that out. And then we'll seal it up, and this one is done. Should record myself doing the mustache removal process. Get about 16 drops with the weed whacker. I'm gonna just spin this out first, then we'll seal it. Hey Donna. Yeah, it writes real nice now. About 16 drops of ink. I mean, it's not a terrible lot, but it is pretty small. It writes lovely. So while you're on here, I'll point out a couple of things. One, I suspect that this is the wrong cap for this pen. I think this is a, yeah, when you get it to right, you loved it. I think this is the cap for a standard 51. It's a little bit, a smidge too big for a Demi. What is the date? This is, well, this would be 48 second quarter. I could be wrong, but it seems bigger than, yeah, I mean, it'd be a transitional cap, but it just seems, I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know for sure, but I have to get my book out. I have to find a Demi. I got a Demi around here somewhere. The book could be wrong. It just seems it's, well, let's take care of this first here. So there's that, but also make sure when you are filling the pen, when you're filling the pen, just remember on a 51, on your last stroke, keep the fill unit down, remove it from ink, and then release the filler unit. That will force any excess ink that's in this collector here to suck into the barrel, which will prevent the pen from dripping all over the page. Most people don't know that or they forget it. Yeah, it looks like a full-size cap. And if it's a full-size cap, it's not a huge deal. It will still seal. It looks a little bit. The first thing I noticed when I saw it is it looks a little bit out of proportion. But I just thought I would mention it. I know I got a Demi around here somewhere. Because I mean, it seems like it's half the size of the pen. Um, let me see if I've got. Hang on. Let me see if I got a Demi around here. I think I know where I got one. Hang on. I'll be right back. So this is also a Demi. Yeah, that's a full-size cap. This Demi cap is just a smidge shorter. Also with the transitional clip. But not a huge deal breaker. I mean, you still have a nice, you've got a nice cap to deal with. All right, so Donna, I'll be in touch with you later today, or probably later today after the stream. All right, so we're going to assemble these. You'll be around. All right, great. Great. Yeah, it'll be later today. That way we can get this shipped out to you on Friday morning. So this is a 30p, I think is what this is. Yeah, this is a 30p. Well, it's a nice number 3 nib. It's a shame it's in a pocket. And this was the one that was all brown and nasty, so it's really cool to have this one coming back together. Anyone doing any long distance traveling for Thanksgiving? Good question. You are drive safe because it's we just started getting snow today. But it's the real pretty stuff, you know. It's not coming down a lot. It's got a nice crisp feeling in the air, and it's big fluffy flakes, and it's real pretty. We're going to come back to that one because that's really good looking. It's going to snow there tomorrow. Nice. I mean, hopefully not too much, just enough to be festive and pretty. But it's windy. I can hear the wind behind the door here. Last weather forecast you saw from Maine was northern Maine was going to get some snow, huh? Nice. Yeah, I'm just about ready. I got to bring the, actually, I think I've got the shovels in the house. I keep them in the door to the basement so that I can get them easily. And I got a couple in the garage, but you should be back later. You need it in the kitchen. Go, run. This pen probably would have done well by going in the Dr. G's, but it's got kind of a lovely brownish patina to it that's not unsightly. That's very, very even. What's the name of the restaurant you went to? You love a good Benedict? It was Jexie's. Jexie's. It's literally half a mile down the road from the shop here. But they had a country Benedict, they had a regular, they had a salmon Benedict, and two other ones too. I'm usually not on Miner's Benedict. What is that? I'm not one much for salmon Benedicts. But it was pretty good. There was nothing left on the plate. Let's put it that way, right? All right, so this has a lot of stuff on the cap yet, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's ugly and nasty. I would like to clean that up. It's black pudding. We'll get to that clip in a minute. Oh, it's not going to work. Just going to put a little polish on there, and I think we're going to be done with it for now. Until I can figure out what the best course of action is for this stuff. Just want it better than it was. Well, by a lot. Looks like super glue is what it looks like. Clean up that clip a little bit. Just love that it says Sheaffer clip on it. Worst case scenario, at least the clip is clean. That makes it better, right? Kind of scrapes off white. Our Parker service manual is a good buy. If you don't have them, any manual is a good buy. Any pen book is a good buy. You never know what you're going to learn. Yeah, it's some kind of, it's very white. Now I can see it a little bit better now. Maybe a silicone. I wonder if this cap band wasn't added on after the fact to hide the crack or to strengthen the crack. And then they did a super shoddy job of sealing it on there and not cleaning it up. It's like they just gooped it on there and then let it dry. This one turned out all right though. It's actually, let's take a look at that clip here real quick. Well, it's an early Sheaffer, so we'll give it a little bit of a break. Let's see how this is. I might let that sit. That's got Dr. G's in it. It's been sitting since yesterday. That's for this guy here. This is a 4NL, non-leakable. Captain Tolly's. What you thinking on the cap there? That's an old repair. I'm certain of it. Sounds like a dentist office. The drill going. Yeah, open wide. Well, it looks like I did all the prep work on this at one point. So a lot of stuff in these grooves here. Could be polish. I just like to get it as clean as possible. With soaking it and taking a brush, well, it's hard rubber, so you don't want to soak it. And it's about the width of a razor blade, so I'm not trying to score it, I'm just trying to run it through, and I've got it's a lot better than it was. stimulating viewing, isn't it? There we go. You know, and if a pen like this is going to be on your bench for a couple of days anyway, you just do a little bit at a time. It's already better, manageable. There was some patina coming on there that was interesting, but it wasn't very even. We'll leave the nib. The nib looks great. But there's also some dirt in here, and these will patina if left anyway, so if it's super clean, it will develop a better patina. This is not like cleaning coins. We already addressed these threads, but maybe not. I think someone might have put some wax on this. It's kind of coming off chunky. So some crescent only have the crescent on the imprint on one side of the filler. Servitor's wax is pen trend on eBay. Feels weird, but makes everything shiny for your photos. Yeah, you should not use wax. You know, Renaissance wax is all really kind of bad stuff. It's not. It's not optimal for pens. Oh, it's too bad about that inner cap. All right, we're not going to do anything with that until we. No oil. Microgloss is kind of all you need. Wax is just bad. There's some studies about damage. You can look them up. I don't have the link handy, but there's some studies done, museum studies done with regards to wax on like Roman or Grecian statues, and it really actually causes some degradation. It doesn't allow the material to breathe. We're gonna let this inner cap is still soaking. I think we're just gonna have to try to break it out, and we're gonna have to create a new one. Thankfully, we've got this as kind of a guide. I don't know how we're gonna do that. I don't have any hard rubber stock, so. All right. Or find another inner cap. I don't know. All right, I want to take care of this guy. I love it when the sacks come out, because then you usually don't have to worry about too much going on the inside of the barrel. Not always the case, because you never know what somebody didn't bother to clean up the time before, but All right. So that's soaked long enough that it actually is really pretty clean. What would you suggest for securing a loose inner cap? I like to put like a dab of shellac in there, but I mean, it's going to make it, you gotta make sure you do it right, because then anybody else is trying to remove it isn't going to get it out. Maybe build it up with shellac before you put it in, let it dry, so it's not actually drying, adhering to the cap. Build up a layer and then let it sit overnight. All right, let's get a sack, probably 15 maybe. Yeah, 15 will work. Gives you enough room for your J bar or pressure bar in there. It's going to be tough getting it on there, though, that's for sure. Oh, not too bad. It's kind of one of those, you put it on at an angle and then slide it up and over. If you start with it well enough on the section nipple, it won't slide off. Oops. And I'm just going to polish up the taper and the base so that when we get to this next week, it will be ready. This has got price sticker residue or something on here. Plus it brings out the striations in this taper because it's not just a pure yellow color. It's got kind of brown. That's what makes it so interesting. In case you can't see that. A little bit easier to see maybe there. So just a little bit sticker residue there. Actually, it looks like there's a chip in the enamel. Probably a couple of them. Looks like they've been filled in. It's going to be what it is. Guess we're going to clean out the trumpet, huh? It's hard to get all of the ink out of these, but it can be done. It just takes a lot of Q-tips. If the trumpet comes off, you can put it in the ultrasonic, but this is a little bit. I can take it off, but it's already starting to lighten up. Plus, it required taking that nut off and. Actually, yeah, that just unscrews. Why don't we just do that? Oh, I wasn't thinking. I'm just going to put that in the ultrasonic. Yeah, there we go. That's a lovely, that's really very heavy little bass. All right, so we'll let that sit. Monday we can put that back together. All right. Next up. Little something special. Oh, I take this one out of there. I got to figure out what to do with that. So, little something special from home. Something I picked up recently. So we got 2 more crescents. I know, you're getting bored of this. This is a 25P. So number 2 size nib, half size, skinny, but pocket. And this bigger one is a 30. And it's got this lovely engraved cap band. It looks like GAB maybe. It's really very handsome. But we've got what clearly looks like some sticker what's there. Stuff going on there. It's got a nice lovely patina to it. So we'll leave that. But I just wanted to kind of clean it up. I think the nib is probably wrong. But it needs a new sack, so. It happened to come open just nicely. So yeah, so that's a 30. Technically, I guess it's a 30. Whoops, sorry. A 30C for clip. And this monster over here is a lovely piece. Modeled hard rubber. Gold filled end caps. Faceted barrel and cap. oversized. Large Edison number 6 nib. Edison Universal, Petersburg, Virginia. So the feed actually looks like it's set too low. And it needs a new sack. So that just came right open. So normally you should use heat, but I had a feeling these were all going to open without the assistance thereof. So the sacks are hardened on the inside. All right, that's well, I can tell the sack didn't do this any justice because you can see that this is all nasty. It was wet, and I can actually see a sheen, a red sheen of the ink inside the barrel. If you're a sad electrician who can't find anyone doing electronics here, so you're gonna learn something about pens, I'm throwing you into the deep end today. These are very old. Welcome. I always like to see that end, because then you know you got the end out. real short, a little bit shorter because it's a slender barrel. All right. So here's something that might sound familiar. You finished a project that looked challenging only to notice how dumb you are that it wasn't that difficult at all. Does that ring a bell? I mean, you know, sometimes you're repairing something and it's, you know, you think it's going to be worse than it is. And it turns out to be something else. I mean, you know. But this Edison is a super cool Edison. It is not related to the modern Edison. Of course. Most people don't even know about these pens. I find them especially charming. Well, the whole sack came right out. This is probably the incorrect nib. But since I don't have a surplus of extra Conklin nibs, it's going to have to do for now. All right, so we're gonna dump those in there. You have that now, so look at other people if they get as much challenge. I mean, this is definitely a challenge. I mean, we're working with the 100 year. These pens are all 100 years old, at least. You're guessing the main problems are that ink being all dried up, so you get that out. Well, so on these pens, ink is the problem isn't so much the ink. Ink is held in the barrel. This is a smaller version, but they have different sizes. This is a latex rubber sack. And so ink is held in this sack. And what happens is these sacks get old and hard. And that was what all this dust and nastiness is over here. That's the one problem. So if this sack goes bad, you can't use the pen. Some kids' pens could be just bent the wrong way, which opens up either replacement or try to bend it back. Yeah. So the nib is the business end of this is the nib. That's the business end of the writing instrument. Typically these are 14 karat gold. So if this gets dropped and the tines, there's a slit and two tines. If the tines get bent, you have to bend it, try to bend it back. In this particular case, this nib is, I would even go so far as to say is this particular nib here is rare. You're not going to find another one any day soon, or in the next 10 or 15 years. So you have to do with what you got. In some situations, some manufacturers used the same nib over a large period of time, over a large number of models, in which case finding replacements is really pretty easy. This is a very small manufacturer that made this pen in an unusually large size. So finding a replacement it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you have to, and gold is malleable, so it's usually pretty easy to work with. The other challenges are cracks, especially in these pens are made out of hard rubber, ebonite. You can't fix cracks in ebonite. It just there's not a good way to do it. It's not like celluloid where you can kind of fuse some celluloid or fill it in and fuse it and make it whole again. It doesn't work that way with ebonite. Missing parts, broken parts. I am going to soak that section. I think it's going to be okay before I knock that out. Doing damage to the pen while you repair it, getting it open is a problem. Sometimes I had a pen earlier today that, not particularly valuable, just would not open. No way, no how. And if you can't get it open, you can't do any work on it. So those are the big challenges with vintage pens. Getting it open and then getting it back together, because just because you got it apart doesn't mean it's going back together. Stuff shrinks while you're working on it, and then you can't. And you can't get it back together. Ebonite doesn't really shrink. It just sort of molds itself into a different shape, which is at least rescuable by reheating, and then it will reform itself. But which is why I like hard rubber, because it's just so much easier to work with. Now, if it cracks, then you're screwed, but generally speaking, hard rubber is easier to open, easier to work on. And in terms of vintage, it just means you're working with an older pen, which has more history. So they look simple but can get tricky. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the repair's not done till you get it apart. I mean, there's always a chance, and in some cases it can be a very large percentage chance that the pen breaks after you've done all the work, restored the filling mechanism, and you're just putting it back together. If it breaks when it goes back together, then it's, then you're done. It doesn't matter if it works or not. If you break the barrel, putting it back together. So yeah, it's there's a lot can go wrong. And then of course, when you start getting into the 40s and 50s, the filling systems get more complicated and require more tools, and it just keeps escalating. What about chemicals? Are they needed in some cases? For example, that ink holder, materials get old, lose their properties over time. Is that just a replacement job? So these sacks, believe it or not, are still made today. Modern fountain pens don't use ink sacks for the most part. There's always a couple of special niche brands that may or may not use them, but these are still made, so we can replace these. We can still get these. Chemicals, I mean, we do use certain things. You can use certain things to, naphtha we use to try to get pens apart. But for the most part, we have some chemicals for blackening hard rubber and cleaning ink out. But for the most part, water is the key ingredient. But thankfully, we still have a few places around the world that manufacture ink sacks, as well as J bars and pressure bars. Now this is a proprietary part, so if this goes bad, you got to find another 100-year-old pen to steal it from this particular brand, and in many cases this particular model. Like this one is a smaller size because it's the pen it's in is narrower, so it uses a slightly different size because it got to fit in the barrel. So not much to dissolve. Water is good enough for that. Yeah, and you have to be careful because in later pens or pens that have levers are held in place by a pin, which is not stainless steel. So if it gets wet, it can rust, and if it rusts, then it breaks, and if it breaks, well, now you're looking for a new pin, or sometimes there's what we call a C-ring that sits in a slot in the barrel, and you either have to make one or you got to find one. So yeah, you got to be careful what touches water. If these barrels touch water, they will discolor instantly. This one probably would for sure, because you can see it's already started to go. You can see this line here that was under the cap. It didn't discolor, but this is kind of more an olive color. It's not so much black as that. Do they not get protective coating against rust? No. No, I mean, these are 100-year-old parts, so they weren't made with me 100 years later trying to fix them. They figured they would, you would replace and get the new model. So they got another revenue stream coming in, right? I mean, it's just like your car. They don't want a car to last 100 years. They want you to buy the newest, latest, greatest thing. You mean with now after the job, give them protections? No, you don't need to. I mean, after I'm done with these pens, um, they're actually probably good for. I used to say 50 years, but the material that the sacks are made of is not the same as it used to be. I mean, they're good for another 10 to 20 years. And your limitation is literally the sack. It just they don't last. I mean, I have some pens that I get that have original sacks that are 70 years old, and they're just as pliable as they are now, but they're not made with the same chemical makeup. They're not the same ingredients that current sacks are made as the old ones. So, if you get 10 or 20 years out of a sack, you're in good shape. If you take care of it, and when you're not using it, you flush it out with water. I mean, if you ink it up and you leave it inked, and you put it away and you don't touch it for months or years at a time, yeah, then you're going to be replacing it sooner than later. But if you take good care of it, it'll last 10, 20, 30 years. And these pens, quite honestly, after I after I restore them, if I write with them at all, they won't get used. Which for some people I realize is a crime, but there are collectors and there are users, and while I use fountain pens on a daily basis, I am a collector at heart. Because sometimes using something that's 100+ years old is not, or something that's rare, is not really a good idea. Ink choice does make a difference with the sack pens. Absolutely. Yep. And your frequency of cleaning is just as important. If you only use Waterman, but you never clean it out, it's definitely going to affect the longevity. It's like yesterday, things are not made to last, and that's where I come in. My car didn't get approved in technical because of a turning light at the mirror. So while I took it apart and remade it so it lasts, took me time, but I saved a couple $100. That's if I bought the replacement. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fountain pens today aren't made anywhere near as, in many cases, as nice as these are. They're made much cheaper, poorer construction, poorer materials. They shrink, they crack, they break. If they break, there's one manufacturer that has a defective part on their pen, and they're aware of it, such that the problem is retooling would be so cost prohibitive that they actually remake that part. So when it breaks, they just give it out. The section is prone to failure, and they just make sure to have those parts available, so when it breaks, you can just easily replace it. All right. But I mean, these pens will last, if you take care of them, these will last another 100 years. For sure, my children are going to be trying to figure out what the heck to do with them. They're getting ready to retire. All right. Yeah, things are more generic now, too. I bet that's a lot cleaner. Yeah, I mean, the whole everybody uses a Yovo nib thing is both a blessing and a curse, right? You know what you're getting. I kind of feel like that part of the industry has really taken a 180. There used to be a huge selling point. Hey, such and such a pen's got a Yovo nib, because it's a much better nib than all the other. It's much better than Bach. It's much better than Schmidt. It's standardized. You like things made so it can outstand ridiculous stuff? Yeah, I mean. But then now everybody uses Yovo, so it's like, oh, well, it's just another Yovo nib. Right? And so now we're looking for ways to differentiate against Yovo. All right. Well, that was a much better idea than I wasn't thinking that unscrewed. I was thinking more along the lines of yeah, ink is more of a thing. Sheen, glitter, scented. I mean, it's the thing that everybody can afford. You can't always afford a new pen. Not everybody is jumping in onto the let's have 5,000 pen bandwagon, or even even 50. But you can afford. Ink will change the whole outlook. There's a way like renting that for basically nothing but in numbers. It's enough for the company. Companies are motivated differently now. They're companies are now motivated towards what's the next edition. Yeah, I mean, Diamond's got hundreds of. It's too many. Too many colors. I mean, it's got to be hurting their business model a little bit, because every year they come out with an ink vent calendar of 24 new inks, right? 25 new inks. Well, what do you do that you haven't already done? Do people really care about scented ink? Yes, I know. I just got Auto Hut scented ink. It smells nice. But do people really care? Yeah, and 25 more every Christmas, and then they become part of the standard lineup. Just, it's the purple edition, it's the green edition, it's the red edition. It's got to be getting harder to come up with new ideas. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I'm not going to take that nib out. It looks pretty clean underneath, but it's got a crack in the base. And it's kind of a nice looking medium stub, actually. So I don't want to risk any damage. If it blows through fine, it'll be okay. We would find it was starting to get difficult to sell the ink vent calendars because, what are you going to do? You buy one year, it's a novelty. The next year, man, now you got 25 more bottles. In the third year, well, I bought it the last 2 years. I really don't care anymore. Vendors are getting more choosy about which they carry in full size. I mean, with the advent of ink samples, I'm still carrying full-size bottles, but I'm also getting choosier over which brands I'm going to carry. I don't need to carry them all. As long as there's a good blue, a good black, a good red, a good green, a good brown, and if I still have 400 choices, you can't find one out of 4, 5, 600 choices, then, maybe you're going to be a hard person to please. People want junk accessories because it looks cool or something. Yeah, and that's, Oh, well, now here's an idea. Waterman Brown needs to come back, though. Sheaffer is good. Yeah, Sheaffer is nice. So the feed here is not. I'm gonna knock it out. It's coming out, but so what typically happens is the nib will stay in the section, right? And the feed comes out first because we're really knocking on the feed. We're not knocking on the nib, but sometimes the nib sits in a notch or sits in a position on the feed so that when you knock the feed out, the nib comes with it. Oftentimes, when you knock out the feed, the nib stays in place and the feed goes out. Well, so what's happening here is the feed was positioned too low. By tapping on it a couple times, it actually got in a decent position, but the nib is offset just a little bit. So I'd like to reset it. It's coming out easy enough. But that's an option sometimes. If this was set perfectly, I might say, you know what, this is better than it was before. We'll leave it there. But I'm going to just leave it there for now. I want to try to put it back in the same place. You're surprised I don't need enhancing glass to look at the tip. Well, I mean, I use a loop when I need to look at the nib. If I need to look at it close up. Or if I need to look at something. My eyesight is generally pretty good. Oh, the feed channel is really heavily scored. I don't know what happened to it in a previous life, but yeah, Pelican can be 4001 can be bought in liters. I forget the price, but it's I guess if you really like it and that's all you use, but this is a beautiful nib. I hate taking it apart, but it wasn't quite right. It was big too. All right. Well, that looks good. Okay, so before it was kind of down further like this, and it needs to be further up to the tip. Since this is big, we're going to have to this is the nervous part. Okay, first scary part is done. It went back in. It was reasonably tight in there. So we're going to heat the section up considerably. And it's pretty thick. I like how that's sitting, but I want to kind of measure. That is this gauge. I need at least. So actually what I want to do is I want to mark this. So we should be good. I left it out a little bit more. It's a big nib. We should see it in all its glory. What I want to do is heat that feed up a little bit. I just gave it a little bit of heat, and the feed just went right up to the nib. I didn't even have to touch it. All right. So this has a proprietary J bar. And a C ring. So much like Waterman or Wall Eversharp, it actually slots. There's a slot that it rests in. And because the pivot is at the front, which is really kind of almost center of the barrel, it really will allow a decently full compression. But there is a J at the end of the barrel. You'd be a little more adventurous in later vintage cartridge converting pens like Sheaffer Target that are latex free. Yeah. If they're latex free, don't throw a Roshizuku in there if you want. But 4001 has definitely been proven to be decent in vintage. Now this doesn't have any vent holes in the cap, but there is a hole in the cap for the clip. So if we were to put like Dr. G's in here or something, it would just leak out of the top of the cap. There's an inner cap in there, so it's a little bit protected, but so if I just filled it up to the inner cap, we'd be okay. But I don't think I'm going to do that. This is just a stunning example of a pen. It's really something else. Interestingly enough, the facets only extend down to the cap band, and then it's conical below the band. And the band is not faceted. All right. 410. I want to see this guy sacked up by the end of the day. So all right, let's see how big of a sack we can stick in there. 20? 22? What do we think? Who's taking bets? You got a step away? Have fun. All right, thanks, Juicy. Take care. See you Monday. Or tomorrow, Friday, I mean. What do we think? Who's betting? 20 or 22? Tell you what, I'm going to go grab some coffee. I'll be right back. Give me about 30 seconds. All right, well, it was too late. The coffee that was warm is now cold. Because I turned it on, I don't know how many hours ago. Uh, I really wasn't gonna have another Diet Mountain Dew, but you know what? Dangerously, I guess. I guess technically I haven't had a can of Diet Mountain Dew yet today. I had it at the restaurant for lunch. So there we are. All right. What do you think? 20 or 22? I don't use 22s very often. This may very well be a 22. It's not a 22. It does not fit. It could fit if I talked it up, but that's not a good sign. It's pretty close, actually. If I had a 21, and I do believe they used to make 21s, 21 would fit. Yeah, I bet you this goes, I probably don't even need to trim this. It goes down that far. I am going to cut just a little bit off. Just to make life easier. I mean, that 20 sack is roughly, the 22 would be roughly about the diameter of this 25p. This is kind of fun. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. You can see from there to there where the lever has, pressure bar has brassed from being used, from being pressed on. That's pretty cool. And this one has that nice engraving on the cap band. I kind of like that. That's a nice little personal connection of nice little connection with the pen. I haven't noticed that on other Crescents before, but I'm certain. I'm certain many will have that. Is that a 9-sided Edison you see on the left? Welcome back. I tried to wait as long as I could, but I wanted to work on this pen. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is correct. 9 sides. Probably better you weren't watching because I had to knock out and reset this nib. Actually, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it. A pen that actually deserves a title rare. Yeah, it's not one you're gonna find at a show. Extremely blessed to have acquired it, and blessed doesn't even begin to hit how unusual it is. See, this crescent here doesn't have that same brassing on the top. I think that's really exceptionally charming. This is for the best you weren't around for me resetting the nib. Yeah, the crescents are fun. Yeah, it's just so different, and there's very, I mean, just the construction of these. Now this one's thinner, but we've had some that were thicker construction. Like this one is much thicker. Sometimes you find them where the crescent has, uh, this has come loose and the crescent falls off, and then you're SOL. But you know, that's really pretty rare. They're such a solidly built pen. Now hang tight because I gotta find something here. I pull out one of my things of nibs here. And the first one on top is Edison. No number on it. But we're going to set this aside because I've got a perfect project for that next week. I should have brought it in today, but I didn't. Yeah, the crescents are fun. It's a whole new thing to learn. It really it activates some of those things in the brain, right? Like this is a 30, but the Conklin numbering system is so much different than Waterman or Parker system. Makes no sense whatsoever. The only thing about Parker system that makes any sense is the half, and half for being chased, not for being, which doesn't make any sense at all. But it's the only consistent thing in the Parker numbering system. I guess the second digit, the tens, the singles digit does indicate nib size in some cases. But this is a 30, but it's not a 30 because it's actually, I don't remember. There's a code for, what is this? This is a 1/2 inch band. So there's a code for this size band plus C for clip. So it's a 30. Well, it's not 35 because 5 is half size, which is why this is a 25. It's a number 2 nib with a slender barrel. But it might be like, well, that's bigger than a 1/4 inch. I don't have a, what is it? Yeah, it might be. Well, let's just say it's a 34C. But the barrel's marked 30 because that's how they made the barrels, and then then they made the cap, and then so if you wanted this pen, you ordered a 34C, and they took a 30 barrel, and then they took a cap and they put a cap band on and they put a clip on it. I mean that just all sorts of, my head goes. I'm terribly interested in. It's like a puzzle. It's like trying to figure that out, and I love that. I love that about it. And then this is a theme too with Conklin that you don't see with other brands, is the gold band has the same, yeah, nice and complicated. Has the same chasing pattern. Sorry, I can't seem to get that. Why will that not focus? There we go. The same chasing pattern as the hard rubber, and it's slightly off there. But they lined it up nice. I've seen this on cap bands too. Looks like there's a little bit of a slight chip in there, but who cares? I don't really care. But yeah, it is nice and complicated. We'll fix that later. So that's just a fun little thing that they did, and I quite like it. So if I were, now this has got the imprint on both sides, so it's a much later pen. I do prefer this crescent logo with the actual crescent on there. And since I'm right-handed, I'm going to put it on that side. If I were left-handed, then maybe I would put it on the other side. This one only has it on one side, so it's an earlier pen. But even if you're not going to use these, you kind of have to put a sack in them. Otherwise, when you go to activate, if you accidentally twist the lock ring, this falls out. Yeah, trust me, Hans. I was a little nervous knocking this guy out. Um, but when you knock something out, that first hit of the hammer, it's whether it's coming out nice and clean or not. And I blame the Ohio show for igniting this interest in crescents. And my apologies to any of our customers who may have thought they were going to buy a Conklin Crescent for me in the future, because they just won't now. Like any of the ones that I had sitting in the back, yeah, they're no longer for sale. Oh, seriously, how do I lose something like that? I have sandpaper, but it's easier. It's terrifying. You wouldn't be so brave. Well, there are no other parts, so you're all in on it. Oh, well, isn't that fun? That one's good and this one's not. I didn't want to knock this one out, but we have to. Yep, big clog right in the middle. See it right there. All this stuff right here in the middle. You're the worst stream viewer ever. You have to leave again to pick up food. Yeah, have a great evening. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll enjoy see the edits and come together next week. Yeah, yep. All right, Hans. Take care. Best and love to the family. Well, I've got it out. I'm on as well. It's got some residue on the feed. It'll just look a little bit nicer when you're looking at it. Yeah, so it's nice and black now. In fact, you can see the reflection. So much nicer. It doesn't look dirty. All right. We got to be careful. There's a pretty hefty crack in there. But it's not too bad that it'll still look good. But we still got to be careful when we polish it up. And we got to get this crustiness off here. Yeah, this little guy will come together all right. Yeah, it looks like a factory stub even. What a cool nib. If there was ever a case for trying to save such a pedestrian nib, that being a Conklin number 2, this is it. I'm going to try a little trick I learned. See if that helps. It's a pretty tight fit. So I'm going to heat it on a rod here and we'll see if it will even out a little bit. Plus it keeps it nice and hot, so when I go to put this back together, it gives me all the give I need. But it is super tight. And that's as far as I want to put it in. All right. Let's find some sacks. Let's cut them up. We still got to clean the caps out on these guys, but we can do that next week. $16 for that. $14. Actually, 15 fits nicely. Let's make our lives easier by doing that. This literally sits flush with the barrel, so we don't have to cut much off of this one either. I probably cut more off than I needed to, but I mean, that's like already a hugely long sack, so a couple of millimeters either way, no big deal. No big deal. All right. That's fun. Hey, Jason, came in late, but happy Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah. I've already managed to make Hans nervous, so I call it a good day. I got to be starting my potato cooking tonight. Get those all done up so I don't have to deal with them tomorrow. Look how long that sack is. So, Jason, in case you missed it, this is the star of the show here. Faceted, modeled hard rubber, number 6 size Edison from Petersburg, Virginia. 1920s vintage. Really an exceptional piece. Gold end caps, barrel end caps. I mean, it's a special pen. Yeah, they pulled out all the stops, didn't they? I mean, it's got almost every hallmark of. I mean, there's no question it's a quality pen, but there's like two things they didn't do that almost surprises me is they didn't stamp the barrel. So there's no barrel stamp, and there's no, they didn't put their name on the clip. And Edison did have clips with their, or lever, and they did have clips and levers with their name on it. So the fact that they didn't do it is kind of surprising. But nevertheless, there's no question what it is. The nib is loud and proud. But the literature is pretty short on. Is it some prototype? No. This is Edison. This is not. I don't know if we're getting confused here. This is not the Edison, Brian Gray Edison. This is a 1920s company. But there are just so few. Oh, okay. There's just not much known about them. They don't show up in the literature in any literature very often. I mean, they're a known entity for sure, but you just don't find them. You know, it could have been they were buying their parts from jobbers, and at the time this pen was made, maybe, it didn't have their name on the clip. Maybe that came later. This is it didn't come from Ohio, no. It is a recent purchase though for me. It's my pen. Not for sale. Just one of those things I like to work on. It's a small company that interests me, that also fits the genre of pens that I prefer. And everything I've seen that they've done is really pretty nice. So they're the epitome of a second tier pen, in that they're first tier quality, but their reach was just, probably wasn't wasn't too much further outside of Virginia, where they were made. All right, I think that will probably the quarterly cleaning of the shellac jar. I'm not going to get too nuts. I just need, it's hard to get the stinking thing on, so. I know I could use naphtha to do this, but it's hard and crusty and it scrapes off. Much better. Just going to throw that away. All right. Well, I got 502. So that means it is time to take a day off, go home, get some prep work done in the kitchen for tomorrow. Not much. We just peeling the potatoes and getting those all ready to go. Otherwise, that just takes too long to peel a whole bag of potatoes and all that stuff. But I hope everybody has a nice day off. At least those in the States here. have a nice day off. I hope you have a day off. But if you're in the service, or you're in the medical field, or in some other needed capacity, certainly thank you for your service, and I hope you at least get some time at some point in the next week to compensate for that. But the rest of you have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy friends and family. If you're traveling, please be safe. I know the weather is in classic holiday fashion. The snow is falling around us. So drive safe, and just don't forget, Friday, 1:30 p.m. Central, we'll have a podcast as normal. Lisa and I will be back here in the shop, taking care of orders. If you ordered a TWSBI Cosmos, those orders ship out on Friday. Also, I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this earlier. I know there's some people were talking about, and I forget who it was. I've got it written down. The Serpentine Bronze Eco. TWSBI is working diligently to see that they get those back, hopefully before Christmas. There was somebody who was asking if they were limited edition. They are not. They're just out of stock. So they are coming back, and I was to actually email them today. They said email before Thanksgiving and they'll have a better idea. So I'll just email them on Friday and we'll see what happens. But anyway, those are coming back. But anyway, have a great Thanksgiving. The rest of you have a great evening, a great afternoon, a great morning, wherever you are in the world. Be kind, be well, be safe, and we will see you on Friday. All right, everybody, take care. Bye now.